Welcome to Distribution Talk with Jason Bader, the show where we dive into the stories, struggles, and solutions from business owners and thought leaders in the wholesale distribution market. Hey friends, Jason here. In this episode, I had the opportunity to catch up with Dave Wright, president of WG Wright Associates. Dave's company started out as a pure manufacturer's rep firm, but has morphed into a wholesale distributor and a private label manufacturer over the years. Dave and I have known each other for over 30 years, and I have to admire anyone who has been in the distribution game this long. I enjoyed our conversation, and I hope you do too. All right. Hey, Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it and love to see your shining face as always.
Not much to look at, I'll tell you.
As you know, from hearing a couple of the episodes, on Distribution Talk, we always like to start out with, how did you get started in this business and where did you come from and why are you still involved with the business? I think it's actually a really great question as well. So go ahead, give us your background, sir.
Sure. My company's WG Wright Associates. It was started by my father in 1977. I joined him in 87 after a career in retail, which was the main reason why I was so pleased to get out, because retail was not a fun place to be. 2000, I bought the company from my father and brought in a partner, David Beckenhauer. We have had some very, very solid success. We now have 3 different companies. We have a rep company, we have a wholesale distribution company, and we have our own brand of nylon and cable ties, which we market throughout the country and the world. It's a lot of fun. The reason why I'm still doing this is I love my job. Every day is a different challenge. It's never boring. And, our industry's got some great people. Very, very solid people. And I drive around calling my friends,
Yeah. I mean, you and I grew up in this business. As long as I've been around this thing, I've known you and your family. I mean,
same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. I mean, I know you glossed over and said retail, but man, you were the candy man. Let's face it. Come on now.
For Russell Stover boxed chocolates. Yes, sir.
People love to see you, man, coming in the door. What happened there?
That was an interesting job. Funny story about that. I was the first direct salesperson for a group of everyone with that company at that time was manufacturers reps. I was the first direct guy. And my dad told me when I went first sales meeting, he goes, yeah, you're not going to be very popular. He was right. They switched from reps to direct people, and I was the first guy. It was interesting.
Yeah, I can see you're probably not the most popular guy from that era there, but it's interesting. I mean, so you did get a really interesting experience where you got to see what manufacturers reps, besides your family exposure, of course, but being a manufacturer, you got to see what that looked like from a totally different industry. And I think that's got to have helped you as you transitioned into the business.
It really did. It really did. The food reps were several steps ahead of the industrial reps. And I did learn a lot from those guys in the short time that I was working with them.
So you started out, though, as purely a manufacturer's rep agent, correct?
Yeah, we started a manufacturer's rep, solely working out of my dad's garage. And we slowly realized that you need to have inventory being way out west where we are. And that was a major bullet in our gun was to get inventory. And that kind of drove how the company grew, was through our processes of understanding what's needed in the market and doing what we could to fill it.
Yeah, I mean, taking on inventory. I mean, prior to that, many people, in fact, there's still several rep agencies that are only commission based. I mean, there's no inventory associated, but I don't know how they make it, or I don't know how they see a long-term future in that.
They must be real good because we need absolutely every advantage that we can. And WG Wright is the core of what we do, and everything around it is to build up WG Wright to make it a more value to the customer and to spread our footprint as wide as possible.
Well, and I think when people don't have that inventory and they don't have the diversification that you all do, I mean, really the successful reps I've seen in the industry, they have diversification. I mean, the people that I know, your friends out in Orlando and down in Texas, some of the cast of characters that we all run across there, they've really diversified those businesses. But, if I look at that traditional, very pure manufacturer's rep position, they've got that miserable 30-day letter thing, man, that I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened,
I agree to some extent. It's a blessing and a curse all on its own, because a 30-day agreement, if you're selling a B or C line and an A line comes along, having a 30-day contract's pretty handy. But if you have the A line and they replace you, it's not that handy. But as reps go, I mean, the menu of services that manufacturers rep offer now has just grown drastically. I mean, we have a marketing person on staff. We have an outbound calling person on staff. Some of the big boys like Lawless in Texas have not only printing operations, but a whole branding section. There's a bunch of different things happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, and again, the ones that I see who have been successful over the years have really done some things that are very out of the box, very non-traditional for the rep industry. So obviously that was the biggest part of your organization. Does it continue to still be the biggest part of the organization?
It is.
Obviously, this inventory takes a little bit of space here and a little bit of management here. For a sales guy like yourself, how's that old inventory management going, or how has it gone over the years?
Well, those that can do, those that can't sell. So I hire good people to manage my inventory.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
We have people that manage it. We have both consigned and purchased inventory, and managing it is a task, but there are a lot of systems in place that make it capable to do profitably, and we've been fortunate enough to do that. But rising costs are unbelievable right now, especially in some of the major cities. You're paying $1.50 a square foot, and it's very difficult on a commission to take all those costs. So there are definitely some challenges.
Obviously you're being in the Pacific Northwest. If you look up north in the Seattle area and whatnot, I mean, that's an expensive set of real estate right there. Very, very costly to do what just a commissioned based rep would try to accomplish there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's incredible. We were in Seattle for 15 years. We shut that operation down in 2007 just because the lack of will call. It's so hard to get around up there. I mean, people were not will calling. So we shut her down and just loaded up here in Portland. And it turned out to be a pretty good decision for us.
I think you did too. I mean, granted, you wish you were there, but really the traditional manufacturer's rep position is not supposed to be, 1 hour fulfillment basis, even though, yes, I know people want it, but it's not supposed to be. I think, unfortunately, the service expectations have morphed into that in many cases.
Absolutely. The service requirements now, we're being pushed from everywhere. I mean, look what Prime can do. I mean, it's amazing the expectations of the user at today's rate.
Absolutely. Going back to that inventory or that consigned inventory, when the manufacturer's asking you to hang on to a bunch of SKUs and whatnot, a bunch of inventory on hand, how do you justify that, square footage, that this inventory is taking up? And I'm thinking some of the bigger bulk lines and things like that. How do you justify that with the amount of commission you're being given? Because I don't think it works out all that equitably for the stocking rep.
That's a tough one. We do profit per square foot.
You do? Okay.
Oh yeah, we calculate that for every product line. It has caused us to increase certain lines and decrease others and eliminate some of those if they're not paying. But if you don't do that, it's going to be a challenge because manufacturers in a lot of cases that are pro inventory will throw everything they can at you because they don't have to pay for the square footage. It's a blessing to have, but it's also a curse if it's not functional A items.
Right. It's not only going to give you the cool guy stuff that's going to move quick. It's going to be the dogs and the drag. Yeah. It's like, you're like, I'm renting containers now. This isn't good here.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and, thinking of our friend down in Orlando, he's pretty hypersensitive about how much that price per square foot is and profitability per square foot because he can make better money on that square footage.
Yes. That's a very organized business. They do a very nice job. They're one of the leaders in that part of the fulfillment business.
Sure, absolutely. Transitioning from that, I mean, again, you could have kept going on this, and you've made a very good living on this, and you've done well. You've run around a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But hey, look, put your kids through college and all those kinds of things. So, great business. But you said you diversified. You went into some other fields. You got a wholesale distribution business, and you are a manufacturer.
Correct. As our rep business changed, our customers got used to what we would carry. And we had a major manufacturer, ITW Ramset, that came to us and said, hey, we're not going to have consigned inventory anymore. We need you to become a wholesaler, put a program together. So we did, and boom, it started. And then we came to the point that we realized that we had a pretty good handle of what was being sold, and we could do it profitably by having the right stuff on hand. So it kind of grew, and as it grew, we added products to it. We tried to find products that were hard for distributors to buy or find. Obviously, there's a premium. There's a little bit higher price when you're buying from a wholesale entity, but we try to keep that line as clear as we can. But if people are looking to find garbage cans, why not stock garbage cans? it just kind of turned out that way, and that's what it morphed into.
Again, taking that big line, that honestly was kind of the original starting line for your family. I mean, this was a big, big bad daddy for you all. And, I think that they're becoming a wholesale distributor of that product rather than that consigned inventory. Do you feel like it gave you a little more control of the sale and a little more freedom to maybe put things together with people if they weren't going direct to ITW, that you could put together programs that actually worked for different size businesses and things like that?
Well, a couple of rules that we live by. One is we only sell distributors, and we only sell brick and mortar distributors. The wagon guys we stay away from. And we cut deals with our key distributors to try and be more of a support mechanism, a safety net for them. And that has been very, very beneficial. And as you gain inventory, it just makes it easier for the people around town if they don't necessarily have to stock as much if you're going to be loaded. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves with, is if we stock it, we're going to have it. Our inventory turns aren't what they should be. And you and I have had this conversation a couple of times, but having it is better than not having it.
I say we just add a third story, man. We just pop the roof and get going. And I'm sure the city's all over that. They'd love to see you do that. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, I mean, you've had both sides of the fence now. And how many lines now have you gone to that kind of wholesale, wholesale thing?
We have about 6 that we push. And then there's 3 that are not lines that we represent that we stock for convenience.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Guys need it, they have it. And then obviously the big part of that now is our cable tie line, which, we manufacture. We have a facility in Florida that we buy from, and we market that and brand that ourselves.
Yeah. Mighty Tie.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's okay. We can say the name. Come on, man. This is part of you coming on the show. We get to have you, you get to push your stuff and talk about it. Speaking of that, good segue there. We can pop in there. It's almost, you are kind of a master distributor, but you actually have your own brand now. This is a branded product. How did you start into that? What did you do to get in there?
We were representing a small line of cable ties. They got purchased. And so we made a switch to a different brand. And that brand, which will remain nameless, is still a major manufacturer. We were selling well over $250,000 a year. And they thought that our price was too low. So they raised our price 25%.
No.
And the stars were aligned. I met a gentleman that I'd known for several years that was trying to sell us ties. And we just came out with the Mighty line. And I had some help from people like Richard Lawless and Gene Morris were very influential in helping us get that forward. And they helped me put a lot of things together. And it's been a fun little product line. We market through other reps throughout the country. We provide the product, the marketing, and the brand, and then they buy it and resell it. And it's a nice little line.
It's kind of a different line, than some of your original traditional things where, some of your original things, they were a larger unit cost. I'll put it that way. All of a sudden you're getting into, pennies or fractions of pennies, trying to sell this stuff. So how was selling that or developing that brand and that line a little different for you?
It's not emotional to distribution. Cable ties they're not emotional. It's a thing you have, I got to have them. No one cares about it. And if you block and tackle, you keep the product, it's a good product, you ship it on time, then it's a pretty easy thing to sell. It's a good commodity item to turn. And most importantly, it's not emotional. If you try and sell a job box or a ladder, oh my gosh, you know how emotional those things get.
Absolutely. Sure. Big deal. But, and of course, with those, the margins fall dramatically. Isn't that strange? How emotional, the more emotional. Okay, this could be a new theory for us, Dave, here. High emotion, low margin. That's it. This is the emotional equivalent. So, low emotional product, high margin. I may have to write about this. That's funny. Yeah. So, again, you were able to put this thing together. When you got into that business and you really started to kind of feel out where the niches were in this and where you could really play, what has been kind of like the aha moment, versus, slinging power tools or slinging ladders or whatever, those types of things? Where have you found success? I'll put it that way.
We found success in a lot of cases with our friends, just the distributors that we have good relationships with, that we were able to put together a good merchandising program, and the product sells. And like I said, it's good. It's not cheap products. It's 100% American made. And we have had a pretty successful marketing campaign on that. And it's actually a cable tie manufacturer contacted us to buy it. And I was like, hey, it's not huge, guys. There's nothing there. People were kind of surprised, but all in all, it's been fun. Some guys, like to golf, and this is kind of my hobby. We've just had fun, and our team, we pay good incentive on it. and everybody's motivated to sell it. It's just fun.
Well, you still donate money to the golf club, so you just
Donate, constantly.
Yeah, donate money there, but you don't like necessarily enjoy it. I completely relate to that, honestly, is I think that it does become a hobby. It becomes fascinating when you look for these businesses. Well, heck, you and I have talked about it years ago, going over to China and saying, all right, what are we going to import? Don't really care what it is. Just what are we going to import? And I think there is that fascination with business and what can I do with it? And what can I take? And what's somebody going to give me a little nickel or two more than I bought it for?
Exactly. But there's some reps that are doing a tremendous job that, you take a look at Proline out of Texas and Sarge. I mean, these guys have not only brands, but they're in evergreen. I mean, they're real bona fide, business and very smart guys.
Well, I think what's fascinating, David, and you've kind of hit on this a couple of times, is just that relationship that you've built over the years, that honestly, you guys help each other out. I mean, that's around the country. You guys help each other out a lot. And, I think I've just been fascinated by the relationships that you all have built.
Very blessed to have those guys helping coach through some of the tough times that we've been through. And they've been very beneficial to our company. A lot of the things that have happened because of some of our good friends that that we've hung out with for 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just mentioned a couple of those other things like Sarge knives and some of those things that, those are other manufacturers. That's their side project. That's their side hustle, that they're going to share with you. And you've picked it up and you've done very well moving that around. I've seen that around Pacific Northwest. And so it's almost like this group of you that you'll each try these things out, but then now you've got this new national network that you can work. You'll help each other out.
Yeah, friends in the rep business are very important. I mean, it's from acquiring lines to share best practices. It's not just one guy in one territory. There's a bunch of people that know each other and work together.
Going back to the wholesale business, if I could for a moment here, are there territory boundaries or anything that you respect pretty heavily? I mean, because you're looking at wholesaling something like an ITW. I mean, and let's face it, that line is, all over the place, in North America. You all have to have some sort of agreements.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have areas and then certain lines, part of the lines that we don't sell because we've got committed, loyal wholesale distribution in the marketplace that adequately serves that. So we kind of go where they're not, where we have an opportunity. The boundary is, basically our territory in most cases. But all in all, wholesale, you theoretically can sell anywhere, but it's within your prime territory is where the majority of our sales go.
Sure. A lot of people, there's a knock on master distributors kind of like that. The traditional distributor, in the street, they're like, well, these guys provide the smaller entities or the curbstoners, the opportunity to get in. So there's this distrust of them. Actually, I worked with a client years ago and I was coaching their purchasing team, and they did a quick analysis, and they realized that one of the huge wholesalers, one of the big national brand wholesalers, was number 5 on their list of suppliers. And the president of the company got really upset with that. Was like, oh man, we got to get out. This is terrible. This is like the sky is falling. And I looked at him, I said, no, it isn't. This is not a bad thing, man. You're talking about one check for multiple different lines. So I think, again, wholesalers tend to get a bad rap. So I guess defend them, Dave. Help me defend them. I mean, I think wholesale has got a place.
It has a place in the market. It does, because there are things that are hard to find. And if you've got sufficient inventory, you can be that solution. And the pricing isn't that far off. I mean, in some cases, I think probably more emotional again on things like power tools and items like that. But, how we regulate our wholesale is based on pricing. We definitely have levels of pricing where we want our factory supported distributors to have by far, they're going to have the best price. And that's the only way we can differentiate it is by having different pricing levels.
So once you got into this side, the wholesale side versus, the pure consigned inventory side, you had to deal with credit, didn't you? All of a sudden, you've got accounts receivable to deal with, and I'm sure you have that on the manufacturer, on the Mighty Tie line and stuff like that.
Yeah, asking for money is one of the toughest things to do. But again, you find people that are good at it, and we've been pretty lucky. And we are very picky. We are pretty picky on who we offer credit to. But yeah, no, there's a multitude of things. Inventory. I mean, you and I have had discussions about our inventory, and you keep saying, I think you told me that this is not sustainable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're still standing, Dave. I mean, so come on.
Just maybe I was wrong. At it, right?
Maybe I was wrong.
No,
yeah.
No, I mean, but it was good advice, and we have tried to watch our inventory. But there's a whole bunch of things, and there's taxation things. The big thing right now is Nexus, state-on-state taxing.
Oh, you and I've talked about this a couple of years ago. Just for the audience, tell us what that means. I mean, that's absolutely the biggest fear. Most of us are just going to quit if that ever comes to play. So
states like Washington are coming back and taxing companies that ship into Washington. California is notorious for it, and it has made it so certain companies won't even drop ship into those states unless you've got a resale certificate. California is a bad one. Louisiana is the worst for some reason. Next is state on state taxing is just another thing that you have to be aware of. Our accountant, we pay good money to have our accountant support us on making sure we're doing the right things, but it's real and it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I would agree. I mean, you talk about, again, being that wholesale distributor, as you start moving product around to different jurisdictions or different places, and it's not just a state. You could have a local sales tax and you could have a county and all of this. It becomes a nightmare. And those of us, you and I growing up in a no sales tax state, all of a sudden we look at this going, oh my God, what are we getting into?
Absolutely. It's tricky and it changes. Even the feds, the way the taxation there, you got to kind of keep your eyes on them too. But Nexus, that's one thing I'd like to see you look into and, maybe help educate us, because there's a bunch of stuff coming down the pike on it.
Well, I will do my best to go take a look at that. Dave, you've been, not to remind you, but you've been around this a long, long time, man. You've been around the block quite a bit. And, I think with those years, we can only, from the positive side, we can only think that we've gained some wisdom out of this. What are some of the best things that you see distributors do? You've called on really good and really bad distributors, over the years. What are some of the things that you think are going to help these folks, sustain their businesses into that next generation? What are some of the big things that they can really focus on?
Well, I think the key of what's happening today is that the user is making more educated and the sophistication of the end user is growing, and they are mandating what they buy. There's a lot of people that, going around and trying to make 8-10 job site calls like you did in the old days just doesn't work with traffic and all these elements. So what I've seen, the guys that have the strongest inside staff that can use the digital marketing to communicate with these buyers on top of an outside sales presence is really going to be successful in the future, because the younger buyers, the millennials that are coming in, they don't want paper. They want everything on email. They want everything directly in front of them, and they're doing their own research. So I think the inside guys are as valuable. At WG Wright, we have a guy inside, Rex Freeze, who called quarterback. He touches a lot of people and he does a fantastic job. And I think that's something for a distributor. If you have that key inside staff, it's something that's been overlooked a lot, but it's very important because they are your frontline soldiers with your customers.
No, I would agree with you, Dave. In fact, I've felt that for years and years. The outside sales position, that boots on the street, has always been that premier position in wholesale distribution. That's always been that pinnacle job. But I don't think that's going to be the sustainable future. I really don't. I hate to say it, because I know that, look, there are born outside salespeople. It's in their DNA. I know that you can relate to that very heavily, that's who you are. And I think your points are very well taken, that inside sales or that inside presence, you can reach out so much quicker, and you can get your tentacles out there faster than anybody else. And I think speed to market and, first to market is a very important notion or thought.
The other thing that I'm seeing that is profitable for the people that are employing it is specialists, either a safety specialist or a anchoring specialist or a fall protection specialist. Fall protection and power tools kind of drug everybody into that. But specialist, one, is perceived as credible at the user level, and they're looked at more of a solution sale than a salesperson. And I think those things are vehicles to be more important to your users. Also, I think the distributors are spending time educating the people coming out of the trades unions and schools. Our guys that are going to win long term. Our friends at Hilti have done that for years. They've really, I say friends
loosely,
yeah. But they've done an excellent job in getting those people to understand. But really, I think the user is key, and the decisions that are being made are causing distribution to change. It seems to be a lot more fulfillment time where they have to have the right things for these lists that come out.
Yeah.
And, the government hasn't made it any easier on these users. The regulations and things from silica to ladder regulations and even construction anchoring. Sometimes the specifications are so intense, must use their drill, must use their vacuum system, must use their core bit. The users are more educated, and they kind of are pushing the business a different way.
Right. I know. And I would agree with you. And I'm glad, you kind of said the quote unquote friends with Hilti, but let's face it, good competition like that only makes you stronger. Look, we can bash on, and I know that the distributors you and I grew up around, Hilti was enemy number one, but let's face it, that competition made those distributors better.
Oh, absolutely. And they continue to push the envelope from dominating specifications to now they're getting in and talking to developers. And so they're just getting deeper and deeper.
Speaking of that, Dave, I'm glad you brought that up. I've been around specification work for, most of my career. That was something I did early on in my life, going into plan rooms and doing whatnot. Is that really as big a need right now? Is this something where distributors really need to continue pushing that spec work?
It's changed drastically with the computerization of Dodge. That's a task that can be done a little bit differently. The distributors that go in and do the takeoffs tend to win because you have an idea, and they're not necessarily quoting a contractor, they're quoting a job, and it gives them a definite heads up. But it is a lot more electronic today than going to the plan center like you did with Mr. Brady and hacking through plans that now you can run search words and find all that. So it is important, but I think it's a lot easier now.
Do you see more distributors doing that? Obviously I did it in the most manual, difficult way possible, but do you see more of them actually adopting that type of mentality?
I think the same guys that have been doing it are continuing to do it.
Okay.
I don't see any people jumping in on that as much as you'd think.
One of the other questions, Dave, since you've been around this and seen so many different ways of going about it, for the longest time, we saw a bunch of small scattered players out there, smaller companies that would start up and jump into business, and they could actually make a living. They could do pretty well. They could disrupt, the industry a bit. And then you'd see a consolidation movement come through. Where do you think we are in that cycle right now? Do we have a lot of small scattered players, or are we now in a more consolidated place in that construction industrial world?
It's small and getting smaller.
Okay.
What you've got on top of the fact that we've had just robust economic times for 10 years is you've got some owners that are getting up there in age. There's a lot of these guys that are going to sell. I think you're going to see more consolidation. It's difficult with all that's on the plate. It's hard for a small independent distributor to make it. I do see a role for a specialist supply house. You're going to find guys that pick a trade and just hammer the trade, are experts on the trade that they can make a good solid living. But I think you're going to see less distributors in the long term.
Makes it harder for guys like you. With less distributors, is that a harder thing, or maybe I'm just making an assumption there?
It is harder when there's less customers, but the battle now is for the user. Most of the resources that we're spending is to try and promote the brands that we sell and to make the brands that we sell accessible and have information to the key end users and large projects. The battle now is for the user, and it's going to be a long fought battle. It's not just the distributor's responsibility to provide data to the users. It's the manufacturer. It could be a direct sales force or a rep sales force.
Does that put you into a contentious position with that distributor when both of you are wanting to work that end user?
Yeah, it is. And the best thing there is communication. You have to communicate with your key distributors that, you're out there, but we're not selling them. We're providing information. And there's really only three ways that you can provide information to a user. That's digital, and that's very difficult to do. You can have boots on the street, or you can utilize a team effect where you've got inside, outside people pursuing that user. But no, you're right. It's a touchy area. We call on end users direct. We call on them with distributors. Kind of the first one there wins. Ultimately, the end user has the power on where they want to buy. And, our job is to promote the brand. And if you as a distributor have the best relationship, then you're going to win. So.
Right. Honestly, that is a tough point of conflict that you all have to navigate. It's not an easy situation, but I think you're right. As long as you communicate the direction up front and you have good agreements with your distributors and you say, this is how I play with integrity. If you maintain that, you're going to be okay. You start pulling some sneaky deals, you will get caught.
Well, yeah, you can't. You have to be very clear because there's just so many options for things. And it doesn't take one bad event to destroy a great relationship. of hundreds of good events.
Yeah.
So you have to manage, and that's what's one of the tough thing with your young sales guys is you have to help them manage this. You're right. It's a full-time job, and you have to definitely focus on the communication.
Well, hey, Dave, we've been chatting here for a while, and I'm sure we could go even deeper on some of these subjects, but we need to wrap up here and let the people get on to actually making money rather than listening to podcasts. So it was absolutely a pleasure having you, man.
I appreciate the time, and thank you for inviting me, and enjoy Bend.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, consider hitting that subscribe button. Links to sponsors, products, and services mentioned during this episode can be found in the show description area on your podcast application or at www.distributiontalk.com. Distribution Talk is edited and mixed by Andrea Klunder and Edwin Ruiz at the Creative Imposter Studios. This episode was brought to you by my company, The Distribution Team. We are a consulting services firm dedicated to helping wholesale distribution clients remove barriers to profitability, generate wealth, and achieve personal goals. To learn more about how we can help your company succeed, check us out at www.thedistributionteam.com.